Hello, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this YouTube clip. My name is Germana Ravanelli. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist and a certified fitness trainer and professional with 30 years experience in fitness training and 24 years experience as a hypnotherapist certified with the Canadian Hypnotherapy Association. The topic of this YouTube clip is how to beat the winter blues. And most of us know of someone or are someone that suffer with some aches and some pains and less energy and fatigue and sometimes some kind of dark thoughts at this time of year. It's a really difficult time for many people. The lack of sunlight, the lack of things to do to look forward to for some people make them vulnerable to getting sad and becoming depressed. So the point of this video is to support you in knowing that, number one, you're not alone, and that it is very common, and that there are strategies that you can do to give yourself support to become more resilient during this time of year. So I'm going to talk about some mental training, some mind things that you can do. And one of the things that I do that I find really, really helpful is to have a note in my bathroom that just asks me to ask myself, what can I do today for you to make you happy? And it's a self-reflection question that says, what can I do out of my will to choose to do something to make my life easier, to make my life better? And sometimes it's very, very simple. It's maybe not push myself so hard. Sometimes it's maybe taking time to have a little nap. Maybe it's doing something that's fun, such as taking my dog out for a walk. Maybe it's getting a massage. Maybe it's just meditating or journaling. But the point is that it's asking me, I'm asking me to find happiness by doing something for myself. So I'm going to encourage you to even consider that as a possibility. Another thing to really understand is most of us are really, really deprived of certain nutrients that help our body function well. And when our body's functioning well, we typically feel good. As our body stops functioning well, we actually start to suffer. It becomes more difficult to live, to do things. General things become more difficult. Getting up, getting down, doing tasks become more difficult. Focusing becomes more difficult. So part of, beating the blues is learning what nutrients are often missing in the diet, or what's missing in a person's supplement supply. And one of the most important things is an omega-3 fatty acid, such as a krill oil or anchovy oil. Some people will use salmon oil, but now that we've had all these problems with Fukushima, there's so much radiation in the larger fish that you're better off to look for your nutrients to come from smaller fish oils. As well as a B complex vitamin can be quite helpful in helping the body deal with stress. Stress, again, it's way too common now. We're trying to do way too much with not enough time. And one of the ways in looking after ourselves is to decide what really matters. And sometimes hyperfunctioning needs to be put on the back shelf. Sometimes 30 minutes of self-care time a day is the key ingredient to keep ourselves from becoming ill. I have a client who last year at this time was a power client. Work so much. Work, money. And he pushed his body to a point where he got a virus that attacked his spinal cord and his myelin sheath around his spinal cord, and it attacked his brain. And he almost died. He ended up in the hospital for 4 months. He couldn't breathe on his own. He couldn't walk. He couldn't talk. He couldn't do anything. And the only reason that he didn't die was that they actually put another person's immune system in his body. He lost 50 pounds in a week. And so he lived, but it was very, very difficult for him to accept that his body had failed him. And it wasn't his fault or his body's fault. It was a lack of time given to the body. And it's just a warning for all of us. The body needs to be looked after just as much as your car does, just as much as your mortgage payment does, just as much as putting gas in your car. We need to be taken care of. And so this is a time of year where a lot of people get depressed. There's a lot of suicides this time of year. And so what I'm wanting to do is just give you some tools that you can use, in your own home, in your own life, to help you get through the winter. So one of the most important things that you can do is taking vitamin D3, which is it gives the body its own natural steroid like capacity. So I actually buy it in a liquid, and I will take 5 to 10 drops a day, and it does help the immune system, as well as zinc. Daily would be really, really helpful for you to keep your immune system strong, so you're less likely to get the flu that everyone gets. And also cod liver oil. You can get cod liver oil that is flavored peach, orange, or and there's strawberry flavors. A good tablespoon of that a day. In fact, that's what they gave people before Big Pharma came out with all of these flu vaccinations and whatnot. In the old days, we just went to nature, and we went back to nature, and that's what I believe we all need to do. Some of the other really key pieces is exercise is so important. A lot of people, say they don't have the energy and they're too tired. And what's really, really important is, even if you get out and you, if it's too blue to get out and walk, you can get a home program designed. I'm going to be uploading a home program that you can, purchase from me, and I will send it to you as a YouTube clip that you can actually learn to do exercises in your office, in your home, without equipment, and get a wonderful, wonderful, stable workout without putting your body at risk. So, if you're somewhere else in the world, you can also hire a trainer that specializes in fitness training without equipment, that really focuses on your alignment, that works with professionals, chiropractors, physiotherapists, massage therapists. They typically only refer out to quality trainers. And that's not to put trainers down that don't have those referral sources. It's the longer a trainer's been in business, the more likely you're going to get the benefit of their time and their knowledge and their years in the business. And it's the basics that keep us healthy. So some exercise, whether that's walking, is excellent. You get a nice pair of rubber boots. I've got a pair that have flowers on them, and a good umbrella and scarf and some warm clothes, and get a walk buddy and go out every day if you can for 35 minutes to an hour. That can do so much for your immune system and so much for your metabolism and your overall sense of wellness, that studies actually show that exercise alone is more powerful than antidepressants and therapy for resolving and reducing the effects of clinical depression than anything. And what does that tell you? That tells you when you exercise that your brain releases endorphins that are called, it's dopamine and noradopamine. There's a number of different names for these chemicals that your brain releases, but it sends a natural painkiller through the body, and your ability to handle pain is increased. And then your body has the ability to repair from stress quickly when you're used to regular exercise. We're meant to move. We're not meant to sit and to sit and to sit in front of these electronic devices. We are meant to be moving. And when we don't do that, our bodies start to fall apart. We lose muscle tone. That's how our body moves, is with our muscles actually pull on the bones. That actually takes you forward. And when you lose muscle, you can't move properly. And when you lose muscle, you can't lose fat. We need muscle to remain youthful, to remain able-bodied, to remain functional. And you're not going to put on a bunch of muscle. As we get older, we can't. It's very, very difficult to put on muscle mass as we get older, unless we're very specific in our training, very specific in our eating. But the ultimate thing is, the last thing you want to do is lose your muscle. You want to keep your muscle. And the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. while you're sleeping, while you're reading a book, while you're driving your car, while you're answering an email. So muscle is the tissue that saves us, that helps us heal. We also need some body fat. Our body fat helps us when we get sick. My client who didn't pass away lived because he was quite thick. He was a very robust man, and he whittled from, you know, his big, thick, burly, testosterone alpha male physique to skin and bone. And now, you know, as I train him, I see him twice a week, and he looks fantastic. He's put on all that muscle back, and he's just working to get more stamina and endurance. But what it shows is that the body can recover if it's given support and stimulus. If we ignore it, which is really easy to do in these times, eventually we end up paying for that through injury, through illness, through depression, sometimes through addiction. Addiction can take on many forms. We can become addicted to electronics. We can become addicted to being negative. We can become addicted to avoiding looking after ourselves, and yet the only person that we hurt when we don't look after ourselves is ourselves and our family, the people that we love. So some of the things as well that you can keep in mind when you want to reduce depression is get into supplementation if you can, if you have a budget for it. So vitamin D3 is really essential. Zinc is essential. And omega-3, a lot of it is essential. A complex, a B complex, also a sublingual vitamin B12 where you put it under the tongue or you just suck on it. Those are some of the basics, as well as a vitamin C. You want to make sure that if you're buying supplements that you're not buying them at the drugstore or at Costco or at Walmart. Most of those products come from third world countries, and they're brought in these, you know, big containers, and they're contaminated with heavy metals. They're contaminated with pesticides because they come from countries that don't have any rules or standards. And then, you know, our businesses will buy them for super cheap, bring them over and package them in Canada or the States and call it a Canadian product, and it's packaged here, but it's not from here, and there's very poor quality control. When tests are done on a lot of these products, unfortunately, you know, the products that are on the shelves in these stores that sell it for super cheap, you do get what you pay for, but they often have traces, if nothing, of what they say on the label. One of the companies that I've worked with, it's Biotics, and you can only purchase Biotics if you're a nutritional therapist or a doctor, and they've done blind studies where they'll find, you know, say it's a vitamin C, and they'll pick a whole bunch of different companies' vitamin C packages, and then they'll test them, and they found that less than 20% actually had what they said was in that package inside of those pills. So then the poor unsuspecting public goes and purchases that product and not getting any real results, so why would you keep taking it, becomes the question, right? And the reality is there's no quality control. So if you do supplement, you need to go to a healthcare professional and purchase the high quality product. It's much more intelligent and resourceful than thinking you got a good deal because you paid $5 for something. Because if you test it, it may have 0 in it, and it may be laced with heavy metals that later on your body has to deal with. And that's not to scare you, it's just the sad fact of greed and what people do to make money. And it's sad, but it's the way of most of our corporate world nowadays. So we need to supplement. We need to eat foods that are as natural as possible. That means they didn't come from a farm that was a feedlot farm, that you're looking more so for meats and your eggs that come from a farm that's local, where those animals actually got outside and were eating from the land. That animal's meat and the eggs and whatnot are superior.